In this series, I have built up a video game collection without spending any money out of pocket. Everything has been documented and put into two playlists, essentially Season 1 and Season 2. Season 2 isn't as good as Season 1, but as we head into what is effectively going to be Season 3, I am ready to make this the best season yet. Unfortunately, Rishi Sunak phoned me the other day and told me that there's something called a side hustle tax that I now have to worry about, and of course, because this series is relatable, or at least I try and keep it relatable, I am going to have to incorporate that. So I have made a video about this, and I'm not going to go into massive detail here because it's boring at the end of the day. What that means is we have a £1,000 threshold to work within. Once we go over that £1,000, we have to start filling out forms and blah blah blah. Don't want to do that. Going to stay within the £1,000. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be a challenge. Them's the rules. I don't really know what I can do about it. For those of you who do this full time, obviously like myself, the side hustle tax doesn't mean anything to you because it's a side hustle. This isn't our side hustle. This is our full time. So we do it anyway. But for those of you who pay tax through your job and then you buy and sell video games on the side in order to maybe make a free collection or build a free collection, you have to worry about this stuff. So to keep it relatable, as I like to do, I don't do anything in this series that you can't do yourself. So going forward, at the start of the very next episode, we are going to have that £1,000 threshold to work within. It is turnover, it's not profit. We'll discuss that in the next episode. And that's just the way we're going to have to do it. It's not my rule, it's the government. And there's nothing I can do about it. But that does mean that we are going to have to go back to our roots a little bit. So at the very beginning in Season 1, I used CEX trade system a lot. Now, I went on Facebook, I used to buy a lot of things there, car boot sales and the like, and we would take most of it to CEX. Maybe flip one thing to get our money back for the whole bundle that we bought, and then we take the rest to CEX, get a huge voucher, and just go on a bit of a spending spree. That's how I got my Switch and various other games and consoles as well. A lot of the stuff that you see behind me has come from CEX's trade system. So I will absolutely be going back to my roots again. Now, the other thing that I'm going to do is something that was mentioned to me recently, and something that I've put off doing since the beginning of Season 1 when I received a little bit of criticism for it, and that is flipping non-video game related items. I can probably count on one hand the amount of times I've done this through the last two series, and that is because people tend to jump the gun and tell me that I'm cheating in my own series. I mean, this is my life, right? If I want to buy and sell a first edition Harry Potter book that I know is worth money, why wouldn't I do it? It just makes perfect sense. So in a video recently, someone said you need to branch out more. There's more money to be made than just in video games, and they didn't really know that that's what I do on the side. But in terms of the series, I do try and keep it relatable, as I've mentioned. But what I'm going to do going forward is incorporate a few things here or there that aren't anything to do with video games. They might be trainers, it might be books, it might be this, that and the other. I don't really buy and sell books. I don't know anything about it. But that's a good point. Maybe you do. Maybe you know something that I don't. And let's be honest, you know a lot that I don't. So you could put it in the comment section if you want to share it, of course, and you can help me. And then maybe in the video, I'll show you something that I buy and sell that you didn't know was worth money. Before we get into the next episode, I do want to get the series back on track because we are in a minus. Now, I'm not going to worry about that side hustle tax just yet. We're going to bring that in the next episode. For this episode, though, I'm going to get our series back to 0 so we can start on a fresh slate. Now, the first item, it's not video game related, as I've mentioned. It is a pair of AstroTurf trainers. They are Nike Mercurial something or other. Very, very common AstroTurf trainer. Got it on Vinted, as I did my next item that I'll show you. I think it was like £5 and some change. I was very lucky actually because I had about £11-12 in my balance in Vinted. So technically speaking, I haven't actually spent any money out of pocket. I've used profit to buy these in order to flip them. I won't take that into consideration, but still, they were up there for a few quid. I offered like £1 or two less. They accepted, they were sent to me, and I've sold them. That's why I can't show you them. They've gone. And I'll put the amount of profit that I made on screen, or rather I'll add it to the balance, so we are quite close now to being at 0. And then the other thing that I bought, very similar, these are indoor. They're not AstroTurf, and you can tell that by the gum sole. You can use them on AstroTurf, but they would wear down very quickly. These are more like a futsal indoor kind of shoe. Very good condition, very clean overall, and again, £5 and some change, and I will hopefully flip them for about 28. I do have an offer on them actually. I woke up this morning with an offer. I may take it, I may not. It's a little bit on the lower side. I think it's about 22, 23. They are up there for 28, so it's literally a £5 discount that I'd be giving them. But in order to get them gone and maybe get the series back to 0, I might take it. I'm not sure. But just a very quick side note, when you buy things like this on Vinted in particular, boot sales, you can, handle it and you can look yourself. But in terms of Vinted, you have to be careful. You have to study all the images. If there's only one picture, ask yourself, why is there only one picture? If it's cheap enough and you're willing to take a risk, then fine, go for it, but just try and study it. When the shoe bends, that point there is where you'll find that the sole comes away from the shoe a lot. So always look in that area on the picture. Always look at the toe to see if it's scuffed or worn down or anything. And then the heel is obviously quite important as well, because a lot of people heel toe. So you need to make sure that that is even and there's a lot of tread there. And of course on the bottom in general. You know a lot about shoes yourself, I'm sure, because you wear them pretty much every day. So just study them before you buy them. I've been caught out a fair few times with pictures not being accurate. But with that being said, that realistically anyway should bring us back to zero. If it's just under or just over, we're just going to round up to zero because we are more or less there. If I see a video game or a console on Facebook or in a boot sale and I can flip it or trade it in for more than I can buy it for, I will do it. If I find a pair of football boots for £2 that I can sell for 20, 30, I will do it. And I will incorporate into this series where possible. Now, I'm not going to incorporate everything I buy and sell into the series because we will hit that £1,000 threshold very, very quickly. Don't want to be doing that. I'm going to pick and choose my battles here. So sometimes you'll see things that we buy to flip, and most of the time, hopefully anyway, you'll see things that we buy to trade. Not going to get into the legality of things too much, and we're not going to talk politics or anything like that. But when it comes to CEX and the trade system, going to use it as much as possible. When it comes to their cash system, I'm unlikely to use it because I feel cheated every time I think about taking the cash because it's just such a low figure compared to the trade and for what you can get online. But if I do ever decide to take the cash, I'm not going to incorporate it into the threshold, even though technically speaking you absolutely should. I'm not going to, just for entertainment purposes more than anything else. But like I said, it's highly unlikely that I even use it unless something changes down the line and they either buff their prices or I get used to using it, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I know you'll likely have a couple of questions and you can feel free to pop them in the comments. I will more or less address them in the next episode because I know what those questions are going to be. But in order to keep this video just a little bit shorter, I'm not going to go into detail about certain things at the moment. Next episode though, I will be going to CEX because I am going to be trading some stuff in. I'm going to focus on a couple of things going forward in this series. So I want to build out the 360 collection, of course, and I want to build out my Mega Drive collection. But that doesn't mean buying anything and everything, and that doesn't mean that everything I already own is safe. There are a fair few games on the Mega Drive that I simply do not care about. I don't want to collect anything and everything, and I have acquired some games that I don't have any nostalgia for and that actually have a bit of value. The PS4 and the PS5 games, again, I will re-look at them, and there are a few that I've already decided are going to be purged and traded into CEX because who needs 3 copies of NHL? I don't. I like the idea of playing NHL, but I don't want NHL 18, 19 or 20. I want the newer one. And I think with that type of game, I'd be happy just to play it on Game Pass. So for the time being anyway, I think I'm going to trade those in. But I will absolutely continue to collect for the PS5 and the PS4. And outside of Xbox One and Series X, which I'll talk about in a second, everything else is kind of dead to me. I don't really care about PS3. I've tried to care and I just don't. So I own a PS3 right now and I do have a handful of games. What I decide to do with that, I will talk about when I decide. I'm not really sure right now. When it comes to other consoles, Wii, Wii U, GameCube, even Switch to a certain extent, PS1, PS2, I do like all of these consoles, some a lot more than others, but I don't have emotional attachment to any of them. Yes, I had a PS2 growing up, and in fact I had a PS1 growing up as well, but for some reason I don't have that many attachments to many games. You know, 1 or 2 like Gran Turismo on the PS1, Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec on the PS2, actually I played that to death, and there are a few other games like Max Payne and such that I just absolutely love on that console. I think I already own them, so those are games I don't need to add, but for right now anyway, I'm not going to add any more games to those collections, and in time I may look to trade them or swap them because I don't really see me playing them. I bought them at the time because I thought I wanted them, and as I've sort of grown into the collection a little bit, I've realised what I do and don't want. We'll talk more about that in future episodes as and when I address them. I didn't touch on the Switch. I do have a very small Switch collection these days because I sold a lot of it off to go to Florida. Trip of a lifetime. Loved it. Halloween Horror Nights is definitely the best thing I think I've ever done, and I would absolutely love to go back there again, but I don't have enough Switch games to sell off. And that brings me to the Xbox One and Series X. Now, I do have a couple of those games, but I don't have the console, so why? Well, I do want the consoles. I want a Series X and I want a One X. And I know a lot of people always ask me, why do you want both when the Series X is backwards compatible? Makes perfect sense, completely understand. I want one for downstairs, so I want the Series X with my PS5 so I can play it where I play most of my games. And then I want a One X up here so that I can play games every now and again, and they won't be the newer stuff, it'll be the older stuff. And for recording purposes, this is where I record stuff if I ever do retrospect reviews, which do terribly on this channel apparently. But that's why I want them, and I'm definitely going to get them this year. They are my main goals. In the next episode, you will see me in CEX, and I will be trading some things in. I'll tell you what that is at the time. If I can pick anything up in the meantime to add to that, then I will do. Let me know in the comments how you're going to live with these new rules. Are you going to include them in your journey, or are you just going to ignore them for now? Or maybe you don't need to worry about them because all you do is buy and trade into CEX anyway. If you'd like to check out a video from way back in the series, you can click here, and until the next time, goodbye.